Welcome to part 6 of this video series that describes making a steam test plant. This video covers making a base for the burner and painting the boiler. I made the base from a piece of 4-inch diameter by half an inch thick aluminum bar stock. I haven't included a lot of footage of machining the base as aluminum chips tend to fly everywhere when being machined on the lathe. This first clip shows the flange for the base being machined. I held the bar stock using a mandrel for this operation. Next, I set up the base in a 4-jaw chuck. This clip shows the base being clocked in using a dial test indicator. I then used a boring bar to turn out the center of the base. This created a lot of chips which obstructed the camera view of the work. This photo shows the burner arrangement installed in the base. I was quite happy with the results of machining the base on the lathe. The burner base will be screwed to the baseboard, and the burner assembly clamped in the burner base using set screws. I set up the base in the larger of my machine vices on the mill, and found the center of the base with a 1/4-inch drill. I had drilled a hole in the center of the base earlier, to hold it in the mandrel. I used the whole circle function on my DRO and entered the radius of the holes, 3 as the number of holes, a start angle of 180 degrees, and a sweep angle of 360 degrees. This will calculate the coordinates for the 3 holes that will allow the burner base to be screwed to the baseboard. Once details were entered, I clicked on each of the coordinates and moved the milling table until the DRO read 0 on the X and Y coordinates. This positioned the chuck over the hole to be drilled. I then center drilled and drilled each hole. I repeated the process of clicking on the coordinate on the DRO, moving the milling table until the X and Y coordinates read 0, and drilling the hole until all 3 holes had been drilled. I set up the DRO again and used the coordinates to dimple the rim of the base, so that I could set up the base for drilling and tapping the clamping holes for the burner assembly. The base was clamped on its end in the vise and each dimple aligned with the hole in the center of the base using an engineer's square as a reference. 3 holes were then center drilled with a number 38 drill which is tapping size for 540. The holes were then tapped with a 540 tap. The last job on the burner base was to notch the rim of the base for the union fitting for the gas piping. I used a 1/2-inch end mill to notch the rim. I was a little worried about the clamping arrangement while milling the notch, but it seemed to work well. This photo shows the burner assembly mounted in the finished burner base. I'm quite happy with the result. I'll be painting the base with high-temperature paint in the next sequence of clips. I took some time out from the steam plant project to extend bench space in my workshop. This photo shows the extension with the CNC router and spray booth. The extension added onto an existing bench I had for the laser engraver. This photo shows the rest of the bench with my bandsaw, belt sander and 1-inch belt sander installed. The new bench gave me extra storage space on the built-in shelf and floor under the bench. This photo shows the paint booth I made. It has a Lazy Susan LED lighting inside the cubicle, a 20-inch filter housing and filter, and a 20-inch box fan on top of the cubicle. I may decide to vent the fan outside the workshop later. With the workshop extension complete, I can now paint the boiler. Here's the boiler after preparation. To prepare the boiler for painting, I roughed up the existing paint with a wire brush and emery cloth to give the new paint something to key to. I then plugged all the boiler bushes to stop paint entering the boiler. Finally, I masked the superheater with painter's tape. Here's a clip showing the boiler body being painted in the new paint booth. I'm using a high-temperature paint with a satin finish to paint the boiler body. In the future, I'll probably get an air spray gun. However, for now, rattle cans are fine. I put light, even coats of paint on the boiler, turning it with the Lazy Susan. Overall, 3 good coats of paint were sufficient to cover the boiler. I left the boiler for 24 hours between coats of paint. This clip shows the firebox door being painted. I painted both sides of the door, so I left a side to dry before painting the other side. Because of this, it took a while to paint the door. This clip shows the boiler top and chimney being painted. As with the boiler shell, I left the paint to dry between coats. This was the last boiler component I had to paint. So, that's the burner base completed and the boiler painted. I'll leave the boiler for a week so the paint fully hardens. Next, I'll be moving on to the boiler feed pump. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to support my channel. Thank you.